We're going to give it just a couple more seconds here. Good morning, everyone. My name is Daisha Van Alstyne. Welcome to our National Disability Employment Awareness Month celebration. We are thrilled you can join us today. We have an exciting agenda. We'll be hearing from agency leads at State Services for the Blind and Vocational Rehabilitation Services. We have some great short videos of some of our program participants, current and past. We also have a great panel for you today and a message from our department commissioner. We will also have an opportunity for you to learn more about working with us and our partner agencies to expand your organization's diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility efforts. We do have two interpreters today, Emily Engel and Gina Alvarado. We will be spotlighting them. They will be spotlighting themselves, and we have captioning services. So if you go into the chat, you'll be able to see the stream text as well, and there'll be a link there for you. So we are going to start with two videos from Vocational Rehabilitation Services and State Services for the Blind. The first video is Ethan Auck. Ethan Auck is a software engineer working at Northrop Grumman Corporation's enterprise services sector, living in and working from the rural community of Swanville, Minnesota. He possesses a bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering and mechanics from the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, in addition to minors in astrophysics and computer science. Ethan is a passionate advocate for STEM education and disability inclusion in STEM fields, and is actively involved with Disability In and the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. He volunteers with FIRST Robotics and mentors underprivileged students through Try Engineering Together, and finds value in serving as a role model for the next generation of STEM professionals.
Well, hello, I'm here with Ethan. Ethan is he lives up in Swanville, Minnesota. And can you explain where that is real quick, Ethan?
I can, yeah. Swanville, Minnesota is a little town of like 350 or so people, kind of in the middle of nowhere, kind of dead center of the state. It's a rural community, very close-knit, kind of, agricultural area.
Great. I had to look it up on a map, so thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me about yourself and where you work?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Ethan Auck. I'm in my mid-20s. I currently reside in Swanville, as we had said. I work for Northrop Grumman Corporation, which is a aerospace defense company that has facilities kind of all around the U.S., but I'm able to work remotely from my home. And I work as a software engineer, and my college education is in aerospace engineering.
Amazing. Thank you. And can you tell me, when did you start working there and how have things changed since you started work?
Yeah, so I started working for Northrop Grumman about late 2021. I think my start date was October 25th, actually. So I've been there not quite a year, a little over, I think, 9 months now. I've really enjoyed working for Northrop Grumman. It's allowed me an opportunity to work on really interesting projects that have a lot of, support for the military and for the government space activities. And having the opportunity to work on something of that magnitude has been really special.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And can you tell me, what do you do outside of work? Like, what hobbies or activities do you like to do?
Yeah, outside of work, I kind of continue on with my engineering tinkering. I do a lot of programming projects. I tinker with electronics, circuit boards and things. Kind of a creative antithesis to my engineering is music. So I actually write music and play around with synthesizers, which is a lot of fun. And then of course, I dabble in like, playing video games and stuff when I have time. That's kind of fun. So
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. What would you say is the best thing about your job, other than like the paycheck, but which we all love, but what is your favorite part?
yeah, probably the greatest thing about my job is just the fact that we work on such incredibly cool projects, and my company has such an impressive history in the space sector. Most recently, Northrop Grumman worked on the James Webb Space Telescope, which that was really cool to see and feeling like you're a part of it, even though I didn't directly work on the team, but working for the company that did something so cool. That was really special. As well as way back, decades ago, the lunar module was built by Northrop Grumman. So, all the way to the moon, having that kind of cool legacy to build on and contribute to, that's really awesome for me.
That is a cool thing to be part of, I'm sure. And then before we wrap up, can you tell me what advice you would give to people with disabilities that are looking at work or wanting to get into the workforce?
Yeah, probably my best advice that I can offer is to not let your condition get in the way of your goals and dreams. I know obviously there are practical limitations. Like you won't find someone with a physical disability being the next like NBA All Star or something like that. But if you can kind of have realistic goals and set your mind to it and do your best, I think that we can do anything we set our mind to. And in addition to that, it's really important to network with people, like grow your network and connect with people. That's really helpful as well.
Thank you. Well, I've enjoyed networking with you this afternoon, and I thank you for being part of this. Have a great day, Ethan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next video is going to be Cassie Forster. Cassie Forster is a mom, a newlywed, a classic overachiever. She started in the bakery at Hornbacher's as an assistant baker in January while working 2 other jobs. She took the initiative to learn new skills that allowed her to receive a promotion to a baker too. This new role has allowed Cassie to cut back on other jobs, but she's never idle. She's already setting her sights on her next role with Hornbachers.
All right. So I am Daisha Van Alstyne from the Department of Employment, Economic Development, State Services for the Blind, and I'm here today with Cassie. Cassie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Cassie. I'm from Upper Minnesota, and I am a specialty baker for Colburn's Inc. and Hornbachers.
Cassie, why don't you briefly tell us a little bit about your path in achieving your job goal? Any highlights, obstacles?
I started packaging for the same company, and I moved into my role as a baker a couple months ago, and there were a lot of obstacles with our scales and ingredients measuring, just site-based tasks in general, but they were all achievable things.
Did you need any accommodations on the job for that?
I did. I actually am using something like a Geordie, and I use a portable Ruby as well. And then I tactile signs for our ovens.
That's great. So how was the process? Were there any challenges?
I mean, finding the right technology for the right situation, I think is always a challenge.
So what's the best thing about your job besides the paycheck?
I love to scratch bake, and I love problem solving when I get the wrong, measurements for ingredients generally means I get to make a double batch of something, which always makes me happy.
That's great. So if you could change just one thing to make hiring easier for individuals with disabilities, what would that be?
I mean, just never going into it from the employer standpoint, thinking that someone can't do something. Because I believe there's always an accommodation for everything. You just have to find the right accommodation.
That's good. So can you share a couple of positive experiences that you've had in your career journey?
I've found by really putting my foot forward and finding those accommodations that work for me, that I'm getting more opportunities to move into different positions. Like, I'll be moving into a lead position here in a couple weeks, and really making those concrete accommodations to do that. Like, having people watch me make accommodations in my job has made them feel like I can do more in my job and grow.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We know the employment rate is significantly higher for persons with disabilities than those with no disabilities. What advice would you give to a business who is interested in hiring people with disabilities?
I think the same things I already said. Just don't assume that somebody can't do the job. When there is always accommodations out there, you just have to find the right ones for the right situation and the right person.
So what advice would you give to other job seekers that have disabilities?
If you have an idea of what your accommodations might be, always come in with this is the task that I think might be a problem, and this is how I'm going to solve it.
That's really good advice. So is there anything fun you'd like to share about yourself?
Apparently I'm snarky.
And you just got married. Congratulations. Well, thank you, Cassie, for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me.
So now I would like to introduce Chris McFay, Vocational Rehabilitation Deputy Director of Disability Employment Services, and then Natasha Jurdy, State Services for the Blind Agency Director.
Thanks, Daisha. Thank you, everyone who took time to share their stories with us. Each person has a different perspective and a unique employment journey. And at VRS, Vocational Rehabilitation Services, we strive to help each person achieve their individual employment goals. We are so excited to highlight some of these stories today as we celebrate the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And I'm going to hand it to Natasha Jurdy.
Hi, everyone. Natasha here. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today and recognizing this really important month. We have an excellent turnout, and I love to see that. These two interviews were excellent, and I thought that Cassie highlighted a really important point. With the right accommodations in place, people with disabilities can accomplish pretty much anything. And here at State Services for the Blind, our two most utilized services are adjustment to blindness training and assistive technology, and for very good reason. These two services create a leveled playing field for people who are blind, visually impaired, and deafblind entering into the workforce. So as you are participating in today's presentation, I ask you to think about this question. When help wanted signs dot almost every door, why do people with disabilities continue to face double-digit unemployment rates? Employers are missing out on the talent that the Ethans and Cassies of the world can bring. As is the theme this year, disability needs to be a part of the equity equation. And going even further, disability must be a part of the solution for our workforce shortage. And with that, I'd like to read the governor's proclamation. Whereas 2022 is the 32nd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act and the 77th anniversary of the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And whereas individuals with disabilities are valuable and skillful workers, as well as productive contributors and taxpayers in the workforce. And whereas more than 500,000 Minnesotans, or approximately 11%, report having one or more disabilities, and the unemployment rate of this group is more than double that of people without disabilities. And whereas Minnesota acknowledges the long history of isolation and discrimination against Minnesotans with disabilities, and recognizes the decades of activism and advocacy by the disability community. And whereas employers are crucial in providing opportunities for work experience, career paths, and the dignity that comes through labor. And whereas to benefit Minnesota's economy and its competitiveness in the global marketplace, Minnesota must value and empower the contributions of all people, including those with disabilities. And whereas the state of Minnesota, in accordance with Minnesota's Olmstead Plan, is committed to providing Minnesotans with disabilities with a continuum of work options that best meet individual needs and choices in a person-centered manner. Now, therefore, I, Tim Walz, Governor of Minnesota, do hereby proclaim October 2022 as Disability Employment Awareness Month in the state of Minnesota. And with that, I will turn it over to Marcy.
Thank you, Natasha. Very, very well said. Thank you very much. I'm Marcy Jasper with Vocational Rehabilitation Services. I'm a program specialist in placement and assist businesses with hiring individuals with disabilities. So next, we are going to do 2 more videos. The first one is Hien Lee. Hien Lee works full-time as a forklift driver at Ikea in Bloomington, Minnesota. Hien is deaf and has been a successful forklift driver for over 9 years with a great safety record. Hien was born in Vietnam and currently lives in St. Paul. He enjoys going out to restaurants and being with family. Also, we just received word last week that Hien was chosen as the IKEA Coworker of the Month. Congratulations, Hien. Enjoy his video.
My name is Hien, last name Lee, and I work at IKEA. My job has me picking up different furniture and different items in the store, and I operate the lift to grab items from the storage. I would just say that the team here at IKEA is wonderful, and I would encourage deaf people to come and work here. I would like to advance and become a leader, as well as teach other deaf people. So then when the store closed, it was really overwhelming. But that was when I was able to sit down with CareerForce and go over all the paperwork I needed. And so because of that, I wasn't super worried, because it was actually just about 2 or 3 months, and I was able to get through the process again. And then I found a job at Archway. So it wasn't really even that long, just 2 or 3 months.
That's great. I had the pleasure of actually going out to IKEA and doing the video with Hien, and what a wonderful man. And just the fact that he says he wants people to come work there. He wants deaf individuals to come work there, and he wants to train them was just great. His supervisor was a great support for him. We did ask if his supervisor knows sign language, he said he knows just a little, just enough for them to communicate. They do a lot of note writing, but he was actually, we're not sure, just in the process of hiring another individual who was an interpreter. So some great things going on at Ikea right now. So that's great. All right, so next we are going to move to Allison Losey. Allison provides excellent customer service as a 13-year employee in Indeed's unemployment insurance division. A lifelong wheelchair user and a Gen Xer, Allison's generation saw the passage of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and then the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1991. Allison obtained her current position via Indeed VRS staff. When not on the clock, Allison serves on her homeowners association board, volunteers for arts and labor causes, and generally geeks out quietly at loud music events. She wants universal design everywhere. She wants the disability context, quote unquote, inspirational to go away, and a wheelchair accessible motorcycle for a personal reimagination of Easy Rider. Enjoy Allison's video.
Morning. I'm Evie Wold, and I am here with my colleague Allison. Allison, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning. My name's Allison. I work at Deed's Unemployment Insurance Division. I've been there for 13 years.
And can you tell me what's changed since you started working there?
I would say a lot has changed since the pandemic. That was a crazy time. I am still working virtually, which is great for me.
Good. And how have things changed with your life since you started working at Deed?
I love working at Deed because my job serves the people of Minnesota, and I believe in the program. It's not just selling or buying anything. It's actually serving the public good for everyone in the state and even people that live outside of Minnesota.
And it was a busy time for you during this pandemic, I know, all of you. Yeah. So what do you like to do outside of work? Any hobbies or interests?
I serve on my condo's homeowners association board. I serve on another neighborhood arts committee, and I love live music. I love music in general, but I love live music.
Cool. And is there any advice you'd give to businesses about hiring people with disabilities?
There are many people with disabilities that have the skills and work ethic that you are looking for. There are additional challenges that people with disabilities have. Keep an open mind, design things universally, whenever possible. There are many people with disabilities looking for work. Okay.
And in your bio, I noticed you said you'd like to get rid of the disability context inspirational. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. I am a person who has a whole life with family and friends and responsibilities and bills. When inspirational is used, I know it's a compliment. I do, but I get this little twinge that I'm not being acknowledged for being a regular person in this world.
Right. Thank you. That's good. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me this morning, and I'll see you soon, Allison. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Oh, thank you, Allison. What great words. What great words. So now we are going to move into the panel. We have 4 individuals on the panel to speak to you live today. And I'll be asking them questions about employment. And then at the very end of this, we will have time for question and answer. So we are going to start with the bios of each individual that is on the panel. We're going to start with Mr. Trevor Turner. So Trevor currently serves as the Public Policy Director for the Minnesota Council on Disability, advising the state government on disability policy. Trevor identifies as deafblind and was raised on U.S. Air Force bases around the world, but studied at the University of Missouri, where he also received bachelor's degrees in political science, international studies, and German. Trevor served as a U.S. State Department Fellow in Germany and Peace Corps Masters International Fellow in Armenia through the University of Denver, where he received a master's in global finance, trade, and economic integration. Trevor worked for international nonprofits around the world, focusing on disability advocacy before moving on to his current role in government. We will also be hearing from Jenya McGrath. Jenya is a claims clerk at United Healthcare Group. She has been successfully employed for over a year and is enjoying her dream of working in an office-related position. Jenya overcomes challenges with vision and hearing loss on a daily basis and is a very hard worker. Jenya was born in Russia and has a passion for painting. Next, we will hear from Robert Setter. Hi, my name is Robert. I've lived in Brooklyn Park all my life. I currently live with my mom, my younger brother, and our 3 dogs. Nearly 14 years ago, a DEED VRS placement coordinator assisted me in obtaining a help desk position in the point of sale call center at Regis Corporation. Since then, I moved from helpline to quality assurance, software and hardware testing, to being a systems analyst, a title created for me expressly so that I can fulfill whatever IT role the day calls for. My disability is cerebral palsy. And if you had told me or my parents 14 years ago that my career would start with 6 years of interacting with people over the telephone, we would have laughed you off the face of the earth. My hobbies include travel, photography, video gaming, and coding. Yes, I mix work and play. Dangerous thing, I know. And lastly, we have Maud Dunbar. Maud Dunbar works for Anoka Metro Regional Treatment Center, Department of Human Services, as a medical coder. Maud graduated from Anoka Technical College and is a registered health information technician. She's employed by the state of Minnesota supporting mental health hospitals and chemical dependency programs for over 13 years. Unfortunately, Maud is out sick today, so we do have Michelle Shimoleski with Vocational Rehab Services, who worked with Maud, here to talk real quickly before we start the panel and give a little story on Maud. Michelle?
Good morning, everyone. As Marcy shared, Maud is unable to join us this morning, but wanted me to share a few words on her behalf. Maud was a former Social Security recipient, received a ticket to work from the Social Security Administration, and decided to take a chance on preparing for employment and securing a new position with the Department of Human Services, state of Minnesota, treatment centers. Maud wanted me to add that what made her take the chance was she really wanted a better life for herself and to remove herself from poverty. I had the honor of working with Maud, and she interviewed and had an internship. When she was offered the position with Anoka Metro Regional Treatment Center, she asked her manager, Bridget, why did you select me as a person without a lot of experience? And her manager said, Maud, we knew that you would become a valuable part of our team because we were able to train you and coach you and mentor you in coding the way that we do with the state of Minnesota. Since removing herself from benefits, Maud shared that she travels, she's been able to help her daughter obtain a bachelor's degree, things that would have never happened if she would have continued to receive benefits. So on behalf of Maud, many apologies for not joining today, but we're excited to hear from the rest of the panel members.
Great, thank you, Michelle. And I had the pleasure of chatting with Maud too. And she had made reference that she doesn't want to move up and out. She loves her coding position, and that's where she is meant to be. So, all right, so let's move on to the panel. Thank you three, Trevor, Jenya, and Robert, for being here. Very excited to hear your guys' stories. So we're going to start off with Trevor. Trevor, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your current position, and who you work for.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Trevor Turner. I am a deafblind individual from Usher syndrome, but I am also the current public policy director for the Minnesota Council on Disability. And I really enjoy a lot of international travel and really seeing the world. My background is in international development and working with nonprofits around the world, focusing on disability issues. And so I really enjoy getting to know people around the world and learning different stories of how people with disabilities around the world, you know, get by and thrive. So that's pretty much a little bit about me.
Great, thanks, Trevor. Jenya, if we could jump to you now. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about who you work for and what you do there. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, thank you. I work for United Healthcare Claims, and yeah, so it's that, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about you, Jenya. How did you get to the path of working for United Health Group?
Well, I went from job to jobs to, you know, get many years experience to get the job that I liked, and United Healthcare is a good place for me to work because I found that I fit in, you know. I started with an internship at United Healthcare, and after a year, they liked me, and then I get another position in United Healthcare.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks, Jenya. All right, Robert, I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you work for, what you do.
Yeah, hi, my name is Robert Seller. I work currently at Regis Corporation. They are, well, they're a major hair salon company. They own several major brands, Cost Cutters, Supercuts, Smart Style, those. And I have been fortunate enough that I have stayed with Regis Corporation since Vocational Rehabilitation Services placed me there 14 years ago next week. and I've been fortunate in being able to move around in that company within the IT department and work all different different spectrums of IT jobs within that space. I do work remotely. I've worked remotely since the pandemic, like a lot of people. And so I work here with my dogs during the day, and then my brother, my mother, every day comes home at night. And when I'm not doing work things and family things, I'm doing traveling. You know, prior to the pandemic, I was doing a lot of traveling. I also like international travel a lot. I do child sponsorship through Compassion International. That's one of my outside passions. So yeah, that's how I keep myself busy.
Thank you, Robert. You know, you said in your bio that if your family and you would have thought you had done 6 years of phone work, you would have laughed people off the face of the earth. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so yeah, so it really was among the things that I struggled with growing up with my disability, my cerebral palsy, and all my learning disabilities that came with that. Phone communication was one of the things that I struggled with the most growing up. I was terrible at taking messages at home. I would constantly be getting in trouble with my parents because I didn't take good messages when people would call the house. And so that was a big challenge. And so for me to, as an adult, get into a job at a call center where that is the primary thing that you do is log calls and help people over the phone, it's shocking to especially my mom, even to this day, that I was able to overcome my difficulties in that space and master that for 6 years before moving on to other things within my department. So it was a big triumph that I was able to do 6 years of call center after struggling with the phone all my life.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thanks for that story. Just goes to show, though, that, yeah, you can start out in something you may not think you're good at and really succeed in it. So thanks, Robert. Trevor, let's jump back to you and let's talk about your path to achieving kind of how you got to where you are today. Challenges, successes, kind of all of it.
Yeah, so I actually can start my career with Voc Rehab. So I actually started at the Vocational Rehabilitation of Missouri. They are the ones that helped me go to the University of Missouri and help pay for my tuition and books and fees. And it really allowed me to go to a university that let me thrive and, you know, pursue my passions. So I'm forever grateful for vocational rehab, and that's where it really started. And there I developed a passion for learning foreign languages, and I ended up becoming fluent in German and got accepted into a State Department fellowship in Germany and worked there for a year in the German Foreign Ministry. And then I taught English in South Korea, and before going to grad school to get my master's and also do the Peace Corps Master's International Program in Armenia. And so that's where I really kind of developed a passion for international affairs and learning about the world. And then I came to Minnesota because of the Starkey Hearing Foundation, which is based here in Minnesota. And I worked for them for 4.5 years before the pandemic started. And then unfortunately with the pandemic, I had to switch jobs to work for the state, which I now really, really enjoy. And I enjoy being able to help people with disabilities, you know, pursue their best lives. And I couldn't think of a better place to be.
Wonderful. Well, you have a very impressive bio and very jealous that you've been all over the world already, something I definitely strive to do one day. So thanks, Trevor. Let's jump back to Jenya. Jenya, did you need any accommodations on the job? And if you did, how did that process go?
Yes, I just, I mentioned to them what I'm struggling with. Like I needed a standing desk and I needed like the blue screen on this computer, and but most importantly that my supervisor understands what I need. It's just very helpful to so.
How have those conversations went with your supervisor, Jenya?
Well, I mentioned to her like I'm hard of hearing and this and that, and so she and I just like do the like we're doing now with the Zoom and FaceTime together, and I read the closed captions in the bottom, and we just communicate well this way. We do emails, but mostly we do face to face because then I can see her and she can see me. So that's how we do.
So you sound like you're really good advocating for yourself and telling employers what you need to be successful.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, that's very important. Very important.
Thank you.
Jenya, what is the single best thing about your job other than a paycheck?
Well, like I said before, that my supervisor is the most important thing for me right now, because when supervisor understands you, it would make job much great. And I'm so I mean I'm working kind of like I'm working in the office, but I'm actually working from home. It was my dream job to work from the office, but it just happens to be remote, so I'm okay with that too. So.
Right. Good. Good. Could you share a couple of positive experiences that you've had so far in your career journey?
I received an award for a 1 year to work at United Healthcare. So that was amazing. I honestly cannot believe I worked for 1 year. I just, my mind was like, oh, you're working for 1 year now. I'm like, oh. So, and also the team that I'm working with, like we communicate. And the communication is what makes the work go well for me. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. And Jenya, I'll just give everyone a quick little synopsis of United Health Group has a internship program that Jenya got in, as she had mentioned earlier. And it's a competitive process for people with disabilities. And it's only an internship. There's no guarantee of a job at the end. And Jenya did so well that she was offered a job. And as she said, has been employed for over a year now. So kudos to you, Jenya.
Thank you.
All right, Robert. Did you need any sort of accommodations on the job? And if you did, what were they and how did that process go?
So on the job, I probably didn't need a lot of accommodation in the traditional sense, but where where most of my challenges come in is actually transportation. I don't drive, and like I've tried to get my license, and we've determined there are too many blockers there. So transportation is kind of my main obstacle. So I am a Metro Mobility user for the primary Minneapolis Twin Cities area. I mainly use Metro Mobility to get around. So that does with employers become an accommodation, because you are on the Met Council's timetable. You're kind of bound to a shared ride service on their timetable, and so that becomes an accommodation with employers. And really, it's just like anything, keeping communication open, and my company is all about level setting expectations. So it's all about level setting the expectation that, hey, I really have to hardline be out of here at the end of my shift, because I can't make Metro Mobility wait, or hey, something happened and I did miss the bus today, and so I'm going to need to adjust, the amount I work the next day a little bit, things like that, and just sort of level setting those expectations of I'm bound to a transportation service. We both need to be mutually understanding of that and work around it. And Regis has always been very good to me about that. So yeah, that's kind of my main accommodation.
That's great, Robert. I know transportation, can definitely be a barrier for people within the disability community and people without not in the disability community. So thank you for that, because you definitely made it work. So how about same question to you about what is your single best thing about your job besides a paycheck?
It's really, for me, that there's a lot about the work that's been hard over the years, especially the pandemic has been especially hard. But what's always been constant and kept me at Regis is the team I'm working with. We're pretty close knit. We've had a lot of turnover, but the people who have been there for as long as I have or longer than I have are all still there, and their companionship, their teamwork with me, their willingness to hear me out, my willingness to hear them out and play off of each other's ideas. It's just been a really good interplay. So that's my favorite thing, is my coworkers, and especially those who have stuck it out with me and longer for so many years.
Yes, that's great to hear. Having a coworker support around you is worth its weight in gold for sure, and definitely keeps you on the job. So, all right, Trevor, let's jump back to you. If you could change one thing about hiring people with disabilities, what would that be?
I think I would really want to change the amount of training that hiring managers and HR go through with dealing with people with disabilities. I think there's a mindset that, with accommodation, that is something that will cost the company, that is inconvenient for the hiring managers or the team. And I really disagree with that. I think that, accommodations just simply are a way to help make your employees more productive and able to do their jobs. And we at the Disability Council, talk all the time that, a computer is an accommodation. There's a lot of different things that regular employees will get that are accommodations so that they can do their job. And disability accommodations aren't any different. They just take a little bit of special consideration and really working with a person with a disability to find that perfect fit and find the perfect accommodation. But I think that accommodations are something that really a lot of hiring managers really need to learn more about and find the best way to do it. And so I think that's what I would really change, is the hiring process for people with disabilities.
Yep, that's a great point, Trevor. I think the word accommodation gets stuck with the word disability too, and that's not fair, because I think disability or not, everybody requires accommodations at some point in their job, and accommodations can mean a whole bunch of different things, and it's not just something you have to pay for. It's a different seat, it's letting somebody off early, that type of stuff. So great points to that. So speaking of accommodations, have you needed accommodations on the job? And also, because you've been around the world and traveled, what have you seen different with accommodations around the world?
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely need accommodations. As someone who's deafblind, I with my vision, I use dark mode and everything in high contrast on computers. And so really making sure the software and the websites and all that stuff we use have those capabilities. And then I don't, like Robert, I don't drive because of my vision. And so I really struggle sometimes getting to work or to different places. My job requires me to meet people all over the Twin Cities metro, and I'm limited to the public transit, which can take a little bit longer. And so I think really educating other people, that you can't just schedule a meeting 15 minutes after another meeting, because it might take me some time, or give me a virtual option, because that will allow me to do more meetings throughout the day. And so I think that those are the accommodations, just bringing awareness to my disability and, realistically how fast I can get from place to place. And then as far as around the world, I would actually say the United States has pretty good accommodations and understanding around people with disability. Europe is very similar, but I have lived in countries, in lesser developed countries where there are no disability accommodations for people. There are no ramps for into buildings and things like that. There are no sign language interpreter services or anything like that. And so people with disabilities are really limited in those kind of countries. And so it gives me a greater appreciation for the resources that we have in the United States. But I've also been very, very impressed with people with disabilities around the world, the innovative ways that they get around those barriers. It never ceases to amaze me how successful people with disabilities can be, even without having all the services that we have in the United States.
Yeah, very good point. I did some work in a third world country and went to a couple orphanages of children with disabilities. And you're absolutely right. They have learned to adapt like crazy. I remember going there and wanting to open a bottle of bubbles for a girl, and she actually took it away from me and opened it herself. And I was so shocked. And I was like, you're right. You've had to learn to do this from little on because they don't have the accommodations there like we do. So that's a great point, Trevor. Okay, what's the single best thing about your job besides the paycheck and the benefits with the state of Minnesota?
I think the best thing about my job, working for a disability council and a state agency that focuses on disability, my coworkers are very empathetic to my disability. We all have disabilities to some degree or another. And so just having that empathy and having a team that really understands and is willing to work with my disability and makes it a safer space to be open about my disability. And, my disability is an asset instead of, something I feel like I have to overcome. And so I really enjoy that. And then I also really enjoy being able to work. Literally, my job is to help make people with disabilities' lives better and a more inclusive and accessible place. And so there's just no greater satisfaction than being able to do that every day.
Great. Thank you, Trevor. Jenya, let's jump back to you. What advice would you give a company or a business who is interested in hiring people with disabilities?
Like try not to give up on them, that you can do this, and think positive and stand up for yourself, like understand your weakness and speak out. So
good, thank you. What advice would you give other career seekers with disabilities that are looking for employment? What would you tell them?
The career seekers?
Yeah, so people looking for jobs, what would you tell them? People that have disabilities and they're looking for employment, what advice would you give them to keep going?
To be patient. That's the main thing, like patient and honesty.
Because you were patient and then this position came along, huh?
It took a long patience, yes.
What were some of the other positions you did before United Health Group?
Meaning like what's before that?
Yep, before you worked at United Health Group, what other positions did you have?
Well, I actually did work for disability, 12-month disability at United Healthcare, kind of like the tryout and see if I can be ability to work at United Healthcare. And I happened to be the second one in the United Healthcare to be good ones, but I didn't get the job after, but I still, look for a job at United Healthcare, but yeah.
Wonderful. So in all of your jobs that you've had, what are some positive experiences that you've had?
To be understood, that's the most thing, so.
And it sounds like you have a great supervisor who really understands you and listens to you and works with you.
Yes.
That's really important. Great. Thanks, Jenya. Robert, what advice would you give to a business that is looking at hiring someone with a disability who is interested in that?
So as alluded to in one of our videos earlier, the slight bit of irk that you might get being called inspirational, I think that's something that we all deal with. The tagline that I would like to see leave the vernacular, especially for employers, is that you should look past one's disability, because I'm going to postulate that looking past one's disability isn't really the best solution, because again, my work style and my company is all about level setting expectations. And what I would say to employers is, when you are looking to hire people with disabilities, what is important is that you have two-way communication. And in order to level set expectations about what a person with a disability is and is not going to be able to do in terms of work for you, you need to have a full picture of what they're capable of, what they're not comfortable with, where they're willing to explore, where they're not willing to explore. So this is where the prospective employee and the employer need to both be open to have a conversation about, okay, what are you comfortable with, what are you not comfortable with, set those boundaries. The employee needs to advocate for themselves, and the employer needs to be open-minded enough to be able to set those parameters with them. So both parties be open to setting parameters, and to the employee, don't fear discussing with your employer where you might need boundaries, and to the employer, don't fear offending them, saying the wrong thing. If we're offended, we'll tell you. And it's just healthier to have a two-way conversation that way.
That brings up a great point, Robert. Yep, just ask. Yep, just ask the individual. What advice would you give to other people with disabilities that are looking for employment?
I would say know yourself, and know yourself, and know how to advocate for yourself, and know how to kind of sell yourself to an employer in the way that you want to be perceived. Present yourself the way you want to be seen. And work on having both the courage and the resolve to be able to openly tell an employer, this is who I am, this is what I can do for you, this is where I may not want to go, and this is where I do want to go. Just know yourself well enough that you can have those kinds of open and honest conversations with employers that want to hire you.
That's great advice for anybody, Robert. Yep, is to be able to really showcase your strengths, because that's what it is about, is getting in and getting to a job that works towards your strengths. So thanks for that. All right, Trevor, how about you? What advice would you give to employers interested in hiring people with disabilities? And then same thing to other career seekers.
I think I would give biggest advice is to employers that just to remind them that people with disabilities are really innovative out of necessity. We are entirely great problem solvers, and know how to think outside of the box, because our lives are outside of the box, so to speak. And so that can be a really great asset when you're trying to bring in some more diversity and talent into your team, and trying to get your team to think beyond what's typical or what's always been done. And then for other people with disabilities, I think finding good mentors and people who are really able to be an advocate for you is really important. But I also think that being a mentor and being an advocate is really important. I think, when it comes to career karma, it's really important to give as much as you take, as far as all that mentorship and helping people network and that kind of thing. Because networking is really important when it comes to finding that perfect role or perfect job. And so, and to be a good networker, you have to be willing to help people as much as get help from other people.
Yep, need to be able to put yourself out there a little bit and sometimes be uncomfortable. Yep. Great, thanks, Trevor. Okay, I have one last question for each of you guys. Trevor, I'll actually start with you since you're here. Can you share something just fun and unique about yourself?
Yeah, no, it's great. One of the videos featured someone who worked for Northrop Grumman, and I'm a huge space nerd. I love all things space. And so when he mentioned that he had done some work helping get the James Webb Telescope up, I jumped out of my seat almost, because I absolutely love that. Even just last week, I was at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. So it was a really cool experience. So that's what a lot of people don't know about me, is my just innate love for space.
Oh, that's great. Well, I will connect you with Ethan and you guys can talk all things space. So
love that.
Thanks, Trevor. Kenya, how about you? Can you share something fun and unique about yourself?
I like to paint, and I like to go for a walk and play tennis.
Yes. Tell us about your painting, and do you have any right there that maybe you could just show us real quickly?
Okay. It's kind of big though, but.
That is beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, I've had the chance to, Jenya walked us around her place, and I was able to see a whole bunch of her paintings that just beautiful. Yeah, all over the place. They are just beautiful. I believe when we talked last time, you were working on one of the Minions.
Yeah.
Is that one done?
Yeah, that one is done.
Wonderful. Well, you do a beautiful job on that. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Robert, how about you? What is something fun and unique about yourself?
Oh, fun and unique about me. The pandemic has done a good job of sucking a lot of the fun out of me. But anyway, like I said, I like to travel, and I'm a Spanish speaker, which is also another reason why I got into the call center with Regis, was because they needed bilingual capability in that space. But I do use that in my personal life too. When I travel, I sponsor mostly kids in Spanish speaking countries in Latin America, where I will say too that the disability accommodations are not so good in a lot of Latin America, but that's my most adventurous thing, is kind of going out and visiting the kids I sponsor, and just using my Spanish to my advantage to really open communication with the kids I sponsor. So.
Oh, that's a great story, Robert. Thank you for sharing that. So just any last thoughts from Trevor, Jenya, or Robert that you would like this group to know? This group is a mix of employers, service providers, state staff. Not sure everybody that's on the call, but I know at least those groups are. So any last words of advice to any of those groups?
I'm happy to go first. For me, I would just like to say that I'm eternally grateful for all the people that are here, because I am somebody who benefits from the hard work of somebody who, really made a career out of helping people with disabilities. And so I can't thank enough and show enough appreciation for all the vocational rehabilitation counselors and the state services for the blind counselors, and all the people that in all different levels that provide those jobs. Just know that your work really does change a lot of lives.
Thanks, Trevor. Robert or Jenya, any departing words?
I just want to say thank you for having me, and I hope this is going to expand more opportunities and more understanding of disabilities in every aspect of their life. And I'm entirely grateful that in this America country that we have this access accommodation that we couldn't imagine in a lifetime, and we hoping in the future it would be more opportunities no matter what your disability is, and it will not give you any of luck of not having this job that you really want. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenya. Robert?
I guess what I would say is, well, first of all, thank you for having me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to be a part of this. But I guess what I would say last to kind of employers and this whole group is try new things. Take a chance on hiring people with disabilities, because there's a tremendous pool to be tapped here, and if nothing else, it's a good exercise in casting aside your doubt. It's very easy as an employer to have a lot of doubt when you're delving into the pool of hiring people with disabilities, and just exercise casting aside your doubts, because if you do, you will reap benefits.
Wonderful. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Jenya, and thank you, Trevor, so much for being on with us today and telling your stories. You all have great stories and a different view of everything. So thank you.
Marcy, we had a great question in the chat. And I'm wondering if I can ask one more question of the panel.
Yeah.
Okay. What did and can an employer do to facilitate a welcoming environment for a person with a disability? And we've heard some great thoughts, but I wanted to address that question specifically. Anybody want to jump in?
Trevor, Robert, or Jenya, do you want to talk about what makes a welcoming environment?
I'm sure I can go first. I think what makes it welcoming, I think one thing employers have to keep in mind that for people with disabilities, we're kind of ingrained to think that we need to kind of downplay our disabilities or try to cover it up and overcome it. And it's sometimes hard to kind of get out of that mindset. And so if you're employer, I think kind of create a space that allows you where you feel safe to talk about your disability. When you rather than wait for the person with the disability to ask for accommodation, if you come out right away and say, are there any kind of accommodations? And don't assume what the accommodations are, but just asking people what kind of accommodations do you need, and just really helping them understand that you're willing to do whatever it takes to help them do their job, and that it's a safe space for people with disabilities. And so that way they will be more honest with you and be willing to have that back and forth interactive process when it comes to getting those accommodations.
Great advice, Trevor. Robert or Jenya, anything to add to that?
Go ahead,
Robert.
Okay. I guess I don't have a lot to add to that. I guess I would just say, apply the same the same courtesies and the same even niceties to us that you would apply to anyone else. Don't think that you have to modify anything about the way you socialize with us, to make us feel comfortable. Just give us those same niceties, give us those same formalities of what you would for anyone when you're meeting someone, because we don't immediately need to launch into the topic of our disabilities, because it's part of who we are, but it doesn't define us, so it doesn't need to be the conversation starter.
Great, thanks, Robert. Jenya, any last words?
Well, I was gonna say that you can see the potential the person could have, like the strength. You look at them as a strength and see if that person could work. Like, give them the chances. Like, just give a chance and you can do it. So, like, not just looking at the person because it's disability, but look at them like it's a human being. We all can do the same thing. We just have to strengthen each other up as a teamwork. So that's what I can say. So
Right, so don't focus on their disability, just focus on them as a person.
yes, that's right. Thank you.
Wonderful, thanks, Jenya. Well, great, Trevor, Robert, and Jenya, thanks again. We are going to have a brief little question and answer again at the end, that you may be asked a few more questions if you can stay on. So we're going to move on. We have one last video, and then we're going to talk about how we can, how you guys can partner with vocational rehab services and state services for the blind. And then our Commissioner Steve Grove is on, and he's going to be able to say a couple of words too. So we're going to move forward here to Brenda's video. So Brenda Myers is a small business owner who lives in Pequot Lakes, Minnesota. Brenda was in a devastating car accident in 1991, which left her with physical limitations and a traumatic brain injury. She realized after losing several jobs that something needed to change, and she needed to work from home with her own schedule. She participated in a U-led group hosted by the University of Minnesota Extension, and she toured a high tunnel in Crookston. She developed a business plan, and in the fall of 2019, she built the high tunnel and had her first growing season in 2020. A high tunnel allows a much longer growing season. They specialize in San Marzano tomatoes for salsa making, as well as tomatoes for canning and slicing. They have a wide variety of vegetables for distribution through the CSA program, the Community Supported Agriculture Program, and she also sells to some restaurants. And next year, they're going to create a new endeavor called Farm to Food Shelf. Brenda's married with 2 children and grandchildren. Brenda and her husband have been married for 50 years, and she said she couldn't do this without him by her side. So enjoy Brenda's video.
Hi, I'm Brenda Myers, and we are at Meadow Ridge Farm in Pequot Lakes, Minnesota, and standing behind me are some horses and ponies, and they are part of the Sibley Equine Conservancy, which is located here at Meadow Ridge Farm. My disability came about with a car accident in 1990, and I had a piece of the car impaled into my skull, and so I ended up with like 32 stitches through here, and they had to take that out. Many years went by before I was diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. And so it was like, during those years, it was like I would start jobs and not be able to do them. And so ended up, like in between jobs a lot. So from the Career Force Center, I was introduced to a vocational rehab counselor. And she worked with me and connecting me to, once it was determined that what I wanted to do was start my own business, she connected me to the Small Business Development Center at Central Lakes College. The vocational rehab counselor put me in touch with Region 5. And so some of our funding actually came from Region 5 in a low interest loan, which I'm still paying off. and then part was the EQUIP grant, and then vocational rehab did some products and services that would help us. So there was a lot of pieces and players that went into this, so it wasn't like all happening overnight, and there was a lot of starts and stops and a lot of frustration. It didn't go smoothly. You do need somebody in your corner that is encouraging you and helping you and kind of pointing you in the right direction, not necessarily doing things for you, but pointing you in the right direction of what you need to do next. And her encouragement was probably the primary reason why I kept moving ahead.
Oh, that was great. I also had the opportunity to go up as we did the video on Brenda. And if any of you have grew up on a farm, you know how hard and the long hours. So even though she needed something to work around her schedule, you know, the farm schedules are sun up till sundown, 365 days a year. So it was really neat to see everything Brenda and her husband have done there. I think they had about 75 turkeys, they had the horses, and then they had the high tunnel, which is like kind of a big greenhouse, which pushes the growing season longer. So it was great to see them two working and working hard. So thank you for that, Brenda. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Alana Strickler from State Services for the Blind, who's going to talk about how you can partner with Voc Rehab Services and State Services for the Blind.
Thanks, Marcy. As Marcy said, I'm Alana Strickler. I am an employment and small business specialist at State Services for the Blind. And many of you might know or be aware of that SSB, State Services for the Blind, and VRS, Vocational Rehabilitation Services, provide services to job seekers. But a large part of what we do is also helping businesses and helping employers in a number of ways, most of which are free or no or low cost. So they're either free or low cost. SSB and VRS help with the recruitment of qualified candidates. We tap into our recruitment networks and do a lot of specialized referrals or conducting candidate screening through our statewide resources. We can also help employers set up job tours, shadows, or informational interviews for individuals to learn more about your business or different career fields that they might be exploring. We help with paid on-the-job opportunities such as job tryouts, on-the-job training and internships, so individuals can actually have a real life experience about what it might be to work a day in that job. SSB and VRS also consult with you about your current employees with disabilities to help with retention strategies. We can help identify ways to attract a broader workforce with flexibility and schedules like part-time versus full-time, or start times that are staggered to allow for childcare and bus schedules. We're also here to assist you with your diversity and inclusion initiatives by providing training to staff and business leaders. SSB and VRS also work with youth in high school or transition programs. We work with them to assist them with career exploration and paid work experiences. VRS services are available and SSB services are available throughout the state of Minnesota. So wherever you are, we're here to reach you. Some other things that we can do are providing on-site accommodation assessments. During the pandemic, we've even gotten very creative in being able to do some of those virtually, so we can make things work however you need us to be there or whatever capacity you need us. Some of those accommodations might be, like I said, low or no cost. And then here are some helpful resource links, and I see they're getting put in the chat right now. So if you want to check some of those out, I'll go through each one of them briefly here. So we have the bite-sized learning modules. Those are 5 independent and interactive modules that you can use to help support your organization and use them to have a welcoming environment for employees with disabilities. And I would say also for all employees. ADA Minnesota is the ADA Minnesota advances statewide awareness of and guidance on the Americans with Disabilities Act. They also offer one-to-one assistance in person, online, or on the phone. Then we have State Services for the Blind. We are part of DEED. We provide tools, training, and technology for people who are blind, visually impaired, deafblind, or experiencing vision loss to prepare for, find, or keep a job, the mouthful. And then the Minnesota STAR program is a system of technology to achieve results. It's part of the Department of Administration, and they also provide low or no cost assistive technology to employees with disabilities to help them make their jobs easier. Then we have our DEED Vocational Rehabilitation Services. Again, we've already discussed a lot about what both of our agencies do, but feel free to browse our websites and kind of check out what all there is that we offer and reach out to one of us directly. And then also, last but not least, is the Job Accommodation Network, where you can find a plethora of different types of accommodations depending on the job. I would say using that in conjunction with our services is probably the best way to go. And then we have the Connect with an Employment Specialist, which I believe was shared earlier in the chat. If you need us to share it again, just let us know.
Great, thank you, Alana. As she said, most of that information is in the chat. So next we are going to move on to our commissioner's deed commissioner, Steve Grove. Just make sure he can get unmuted. There we go.
There, Marcy, can you hear me?
I can. Thanks, Mr. Grove.
Great. Thanks so much. Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, I should say. Happy Monday. And wow, what a great way to start the week with a conversation that we've been having here about National Disability Employment Awareness Month. The governor was thrilled to declare this month, once again, a month to really lift up the opportunities that disabled workers bring to our economy. And I don't know if there's been a month where this has been more relevant or more poignant than it is this one in the year 2022. When we have some of the sharpest labor shortages in Minnesota's history. The timing is just really great. I'm thrilled to see this conversation taking place. I'm thrilled to have employers on here as well. I think you all know this because you're here in this conversation, but one of the things that we consistently share with employers across the state is when you think about workforces that are populated by people with disabilities, focusing on the disability actually isn't where you're going to see the strength. Focusing on the ability is actually the really unique thing that we like to do at DEED as it relates to these this workforce. You know, workers with disabilities bring a problem-solving capability to the workforce. They bring, you know, a sense of loyalty and a whole host of abilities that are unique and really differentiating for this labor market. And one of the things that we are trying to do at our department is really elevate that conversation with businesses across Minnesota who are struggling desperately to hire right now, and I think have opener ears than they've ever had before to expanding their thoughts around where they recruit workers from. And we really see that as our job as a state agency is to make some of those connections to help businesses hire. You know, you've got 4 open jobs in the state right now for every 1 person looking for one. We don't see that going away anytime soon. And so this workforce, these efforts are a critical part of that. You know, I think one of the good things as well is we've seen some really good momentum in our state right now. I don't know how many of you saw just recently, but Minneapolis was ranked the best city in the U.S. for people with disabilities recently by Wallet Hub, and St. Paul was in the top 20 as well. We know that the employment to population ratio for people with disabilities has increased over 3% over the last year. That's great news. That's double what that ratio increased to for the general population. That means there are more people working and getting into work that have disabilities than the general population. And part of that is because all of us are partnering together. And that's really key here in this space is you need a state government that can be a partner and that frankly can meet you where you are. And that's really been a theme, I think, for our department, our vocational rehabilitation services and our state services for the blind teams in particular. We have really rethought how it is that we go out and help workers train for jobs and help employers find jobs as it relates to people with disabilities. It used to be that we had these brick and mortar career force centers that we expect everyone to walk into to come avail themselves of our services. And I think COVID really accelerated for us a transition that was critical to our state's thesis here, which is that we need to be out in the community. Dee Torgerson, Natasha Jerde, they have pioneered a model for in-community service where we aren't spending time in our offices waiting for clients to show up. We're getting out into people's homes. We're getting out into community centers. We're getting out into libraries. We're integrating and partnering with our career force system across the state so that we're coming to where the workers are and not waiting for something different to happen. And I think that kind of shift, and it may seem pretty basic and elemental, has really changed how we see this space in our department. And it's something that I'm just really grateful to Dee and Natasha for leading for us because it's it's a critical part of how we're going to make more progress here together. I think just a final word to the employers that are with us today, and you're here, I assume, because you already have a track record or a focus on helping your HR departments and others look in places they might not usually look for workers. We are here to help. And if you're an employer here who has had success hiring people with disabilities, please tell your colleagues in other businesses. I think there's of course, all kinds of stigma attached to sort of the accommodations that are needed or what have you, but there's a lot of misconceptions about what that is. And I think just a lot of lack of awareness of what it means to hire a person with disabilities. Everyone on this call either has or knows somebody that has a disability in the workplace. And that kind of adversity that disability presents you with in your life also gives you a certain grit and determination. And I think that's what Minnesota is well known for. We are a state that has that kind of grittiness, that drive, that desire to get out and work and do big things. And I don't think there's a group of workers in our state that better personifies that Minnesota spirit than people with disabilities in our workforce. And so we're thrilled to be an agency that is able to shepherd some of this work, thrilled to partner with all of you, and excited for this conversation today. The governor has long held a heart for this workforce, and also just from a strategic standpoint, really sees this as an area where Minnesota needs to move forward. So we're excited to come together here. Thanks for letting me come in for these final few minutes of your conversation, and just watching some of the videos and hearing the conversations is always inspiring to me. So Marcy, with that, I think I'll turn it back over to you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Grove, and thank you for being a big support for our agency and supporting people with disabilities into employment. So I was going to turn it over to Michelle Shimoleski for questions in the chat, but it doesn't look like there's any in the chat right now. So if anybody has questions, have just a minute or two for any questions.
We've had a lot of great comments and chats back and forth and resources provided. So thank you everyone for participating today.
Great, thank you. As we mentioned, the contact an employment specialist form is in there along with how to contact SSB. So please reach out. We have one final video to end with. It's just like 1 minute and 45 seconds long. It's called The Hiring Chain. And so would love for employers on here to start the hiring chain. So thank you so much for being here today. Look forward to connecting with people after this, but enjoy this last video.
The baker had Simone, and everybody saw that she could do the job. The lawyer went to the baker and saw Simone at work. The lawyer hired John because the baker hired Simone. The baker hired Simone. The dentist went to the lawyer and saw John at work. The dentist hired Sophia because the lawyer hired John, because the baker hired Simone. The baker hired Simone. The farmer went to the dentist and saw Sophia at work. The farmer hired Kate because the dentist hired Sophia, because the lawyer hired John, because the baker hired Simone. The baker hired Simone. The farmer went to the farmer and saw Kate at work. The farmer hired Paul because the farmer hired Kate, because the dentist hired Sophia, because the lawyer hired John, because the baker had Simone. The baker had Simone. The baker went to the barber and saw Paul at work. He didn't have a clue, but it was thanks to his first move that the barber hired Paul, because the farmer hired Kate, because the dentist had Sophia, because the lawyer hired John, because the baker had Simone. The baker had Simone. The baker had Simone. Yeah.
Great, thank you for that video. It actually looks like we do have one last question in the chat. How employers...
See, I think it's an incomplete question. how does one navigate as an employer using? There is one more. Do we have statistics for the number of individuals placed through SSB per year? Maybe I'll put Daisha
or Natasha on that. I don't know if they have any on hand or if they can get that information.
This is Natasha. I can tell you our COVID numbers were not wonderful. We were placing around in the 60s each year. I am pleased to say for this most recent program year, we had a 15% increase, and we placed, I believe, 82 people who are blind, visually impaired, or deafblind. And we are on track to going back to our usual numbers, which is 90 to 110 per year. And out of perspective, we usually have about 690 open cases every year.
That's great. Thank you, Natasha.
Yes,
okay, here's our question. How does one navigate as an employer using AmeriCorps or hiring through a third party who does not want to make accommodations?
Claudia, if you, my Marcy Jasper's contact information is on the contact and employment specialist. So if you want to reach out to me directly, you and I can chat about that.
Okay. And one more. How would DEED, SSB, and VRS partner with DOC, which is Department of Corrections, to support individuals to achieve their best life as they come out into the community and become our neighbors? Certainly people with disabilities that have been incarcerated can contact their local VRS office and receive services the same as anyone else.
Thank you for that, Michelle. All right, so we do need to end in lieu of time. So thank you so much. You have all of our information, so please reach out if you have any more questions. Thank you again.